Topic 2 is about the role of the quality system. Boleh dengar suara saya jelas
Boleh.
Jelas.
Alhamdulillah. So topic 2, what are the contents? Okay. The main content of topic 2 are strategic planning for TQM. So we will look into the rationale, the process, and the strategy of formulation. So in terms of the mission and vision dia, macam mana, okay? So who are the responsible personnel to come up with the mission and vision of the organization? And then we'll touch a little bit on the Deming 14 points, okay? Third content will be on the ISO 9000 and 14000, the purpose and benefits towards TQM. Okay, how can ISO 9000 and 14000 helps in the implementation of the TQM? Okay, and last subtopic will be on the organizational alignment and 360 degrees appraisal. Kita akan tengok in terms of the how can you make a 360 degrees appraisals, what it is all about, and who are the person involved in doing the 360 degrees appraisal ni. Okay, so let's look at into the definition done by James Quinn, the Senior Director of Strategic Planning at Quinn Advisors. So he says that strategic planning for quality is a strategy. A strategy is a pattern or plan that integrates an organization's major goals, policies, and action sequences into a cohesive whole. Maksudnya, you may have a vision, which is a very big plan, futuristic. In achieving that goal, that vision, you will have to come up with a detailed plan, and each plan must have objectives there, what to achieve. Okay, so you have to integrate all this plan into an organization's major goals, policies, and action sequences. So kita tengok lagi next. So basically the focus of a strategic plan is usually on the entire organisation. Nama pun strategic plan, sebab tu in most organisation they will come up with the strategic planning for the next 5 years. They are talking about the long term. Some companies they go to the extent that 10 or 15 years ataupun to the extent. Okay, so it is usually on the entire organization, while the focus of a business plan is usually on a particular product, service, or program. So if you narrow down into a business plan, usually if you're talking about business plan, you have to focus a little bit. It is concerned on what type of business, if it has got to do with the product, on which product, on what type of services, or on what type of program. So you kena focus, then only will be effective and efficient in terms of the implementation. Now, developing the strategic planning for quality. So for quality, since for strategic planning for quality, you may not be able to see the outcome there and then. Sometimes the results may take some time to see the output dia tu. So you have to really understand what are you planning to do. Okay, so strategy, basically you have to separate in terms of the strategic planning and the strategy development. Okay, so you can divide into these two stages. Under the strategy, you may have the strategic planning and the strategy development. Okay, how do you develop those planned strategy? Okay, So under strategy, there are goals to be achieved. You may set several goals to achieve the strategy, okay? So katalah your strategy nak go global, you may have several goals to achieve. First, you have to find the business venture in overseas, for example. And then you should set your target. Which global market that we like to first advance in. Katalah you are talking about the European market. So you look somewhere in the European country. Which country that you think that will give you the most added advantage? Okay. Next plan, what you want to do. Policies to guide or limit the action. So you have to find out, is there any government policies that will affect your activities? So try your level best to find the country that will offer you a benefit and added advantage in terms of, for example, previously in back in the early 90s, Malaysian government provided ataupun give the incentive excise duty for the inventors from overseas. So during that time, they memang open up for the international investors to come and invested their economy atau their business in Malaysia. So what do they offer? They offer one of those yang becoming very during that time memang ramai sangat datang investor in Malaysia because they provide the excise duty for free for 3 years, 3 tahun. So during that time, it's a company, and then there are free scale. There are a few other electronic companies came and invested in Malaysia. But sad to say lah, right after 3 years, they just simply, close down their business and they sell their business to the local partnership dia lah. So you have to check in terms of the policies, how do they work, how does this policy will help us in terms of doing our business, okay? So, and from there, you come up with the action sequences or programs to accomplish the goals that you have already set, okay? Now, the strategic planning must understand the important and the operational requirements. So this includes what are the policies, the companies. From our side, they say if you want to invest in the at the international, how are you going to go about? You should contact the matric people, for example. You must know the policy, our government policy, and the other parties in policy, okay? So optimize use of resources and ensure bridging between short-term and long-term requirements. So try to optimize the use of resources in a way that rather than you deploy your people from Malaysia to that country, perhaps you should employ the people in that source of company itself so that they know how to go about in terms of business policies, in terms of the government requirement. They know in and out about the the operational wise, okay? So ensure the quality initiatives are understood at all organizational levels. So when you talk about the quality itself, before you adopt and adapt to your organization, the one who will champion the activities must understand about the quality itself. Then only the implementation will become effective and then productive. So ensure that work organization and structures will facilitate accomplishment of the strategic plan. So whatever activities that you are planning to implement, you have to make sure that those initiatives will have a full support from the top management. It is a top driven. Strategic planning is about the top driven activities. The directive must come from the top management. So strategy development. So forces the organization to think in terms of customers. Okay. when you want to develop in terms of the plan that you have already come up with, so try to think your position in the customer's shoes. Katalah it's about quality and it's about the product. If you want to develop a product, then you have to think of at the language or lingo of the customer's want, the customer's requirement. Okay, that's why how can you obtain those information? By doing surveys, by doing the market surveys, or by hiring a consultant to give you the required information. Okay, so point number 2, it places the expectation of leadership on senior management in developing and implementing the strategy. So, well, the point or the information that you gather from the customer is one thing, but still, in terms of the management or the organization, they will have their own strategy as well. Okay, their strategy may depending on the focus of their business or the business strategy that they have set from the beginning. For example, katalah your plan is actually to serve the customer, but your customer you have already set the population of your customer, maybe the middle income people. So in terms of product, in terms of the quality that you will produce, you will have to set for that scope of work or for that scope of the population. Okay, so in terms of pricing, so this is all will be included in the strategy development. Okay, because under the strategy development, it will not only involve in terms of the resources, it will involve in terms of the costing. Okay, you have to be focused, then only you will be successful. So the focus on measurement and objective reasoning produces the reality check in determining the effectiveness of strategy and performance in meeting goals and objectives. So you have to be realistic in your implementation. Okay, you cannot offer everything under the sun to your customer and yet at this kind of price. For example, you nak offer macam-macam. Of course, anything that you have already committed to offer, it will incur certain level of cost. So you have to be careful and realistic. So the focus on teamwork creates an expectation that everyone in the organization plays a role in the strategy development. So teamwork is very important because one head is more heads is better than one, because we know that each and everyone has got a different type of exposure. So during the R&D, we need to have as many input as possible. The main reason being that to minimize whatever we say that any possibilities of the of the failure tu. We would like to minimize that. Okay. Now, when you set quality as a strategy, so you become more focused what type of quality they would like to achieve. So it says here that effective strategies develop around a few key concepts and thrusts that provide focus. Okay, so quality should become an integral part of this strategic plan and should be viewed as a central operating strategy. So quality should be at the very, I would say that general or universal target. So if everyone is focusing or targeting toward the same goal with the quality platform, so you will have you won't have any what they call as the as a personal interest towards it. Okay, so the essence of strategy is to build a posture that is so strong in selective ways that the organization can achieve its goal despite unforeseeable external forces that may arise. Okay, if you work in a team, then it will be a collective decision, okay, rather than one mensure ataupun a person yang decision. Okay. Previous. Okay. So the strategic management process, strategic planning helps leadership mold an organization future and manage change by focusing on the ideal vision of what an organization should be or and could be in 10 to 20 years in the future, for example. Okay. And strategic plans are developed at the highest level of the organization and deployed throughout it. And strategic planning consists of strategy formulation and strategy implementation. So in the strategic planning, you should have the formulation atau the how about the how to go about and in terms of its implementation. Okay. Formulation based on the, usually people focus on the 5 M's in terms of the method on how to go about, in terms of the resources, manpower, who will be the champion, who will be the person in charge, in terms of the material, documentation, in terms of the the material can be in terms of the resources, or if it is about the product, can be in terms of the raw materials itself. Okay. In terms of the machineries, can be in terms of the experts, who are the experts in those areas. And then of course one thing is cost, another one. So strategic planning process, when you want to do a strategic planning, you will have to go through a certain process that will help you to guide so that you won't go stray from what you're supposed to do. Okay. First, you need to know the reason for the existence. Okay. For example, the mission that you should, in your mission that you should set, you must assess in terms of the gap between your present activities with the one that you are targeting to achieve. Okay. So the current achievement compared to your vision, then you will have the set of missions to accomplish. Okay. It means that you do the postmortem from the previous achievement, and then you compare, and then what the company has achieved previously, and then what you plan to do to move forward. Okay. So the vision basically focusing on the future intent. Okay. The intention of the organization to move forward in which direction. So you can base on the environmental assessment, you can base on the strategies that you may have not implemented yet in the pipeline, and then you strategize those strategies in terms of the several objectives, and then come up with the action plans. Once you have the action plans, usually it will involve the time frame and the person in charge. Okay. And also you need to know in terms of the attitude and the policies and what are the guiding principles. Okay. Your capabilities, the risk, the strength of the organization, you have to do the analysis in terms of that. And the broad statements of your direction though, whether it is achievable or not. Okay. And then things to change or to improve. Do you have the capacity of doing that or not? If you don't have, what would you do? Do you need to send your people for training in order for you to achieve those strategy that you have already set? So if you have that in plan, so you can make the implementation is very systematic. Now, strategy formulation for strategic planning. First, management must first design the mission, vision, and the guiding principles of the organization. It will be the foundation of the strategic plan. Okay. For example, contoh saya bagi UiTM in the year initially 2020 dia kata dia nak set, in 2020 dia nak population of the students there 200,000. Tak achieve 2020 tak achieve lagi So what do we do to achieve that numbers of students enrollment? So one of it is actually to have all the campus cawangan throughout Malaysia, another one. So we also offer the enrollment to the international students. That's another approach, okay? Doing the collaboration with the international institution, that is another approach. So kena set lah, okay? So the mission of, point number 2, the mission of an organization defines its reason for its existence. Okay, so for you to come up with the strategic plan, you have to understand also the reason why you are in that place at the first place, and then why do you want to go to that extent, okay, in your planning. Katalah in this case, if you plan to implement TQM, why are you actually going to that extent? Why must you go through all the trouble to implement total quality management or TQM? For what reason? Okay, so you must have a specific reason and valid reason. Okay, then only you can mechanize the activities too. Okay, so the vision describes where the organization is heading and what it intends to be. Okay, so the guiding principle direct the journey to that vision by defining attitudes and policies for all employees that are reinforced through conscious and subconscious behavior at all levels of the organization. So one thing for sure, for you to ensure that whatever plan that you have already set achievable, you must make sure that people at all level understand what you intend to do. Otherwise, memang tak tercapai. Kalau tercapai pun, maybe not in full. Okay. So in sequence, first, the mission, vision, and guiding principle serves as the foundation for strategic planning. So next, you have to assess the gap between where the organization is now and where it wants to be as described in its vision. Katalah your vision is actually to achieve or to implement TQM in full by year 2025, in 5 years time, for example. Okay, so your main reason why you want to go for TQM implementation, why do you want to implement? You said that you want to go global, and then you want to achieve the Deming prize, for example. Katalah Deming prize by 2025. You want to be certified as Deming prize, walaupun tak dapat kan. Deming prize only recognized or offered for the Japanese organization sahaja. Sorry. And then next, develop goals, strategies, and objectives that will enable the organizers to bridge this gap. So once you know where you are missing, where is the gap in your implementation between the future and the existing or the current organization or the current system, so you can actually patch the gap too. So the implementation become more focused. Okay, so vision, gap analysis, and then come up with strategic goals. Then you strategize, then come up with several objectives to achieve the strategies. Okay. So, definition of mission. So, mission, you can be based on the definition of products and services in terms of markets, customer needs, and distinctive competencies. Okay. Let's say now in terms of mission, your mission is actually to produce EV, for example, electric vehicle. Okay. Now people are moving away from the combustion engine or internal ICE to EV. Okay, so your vision will be where the organization is heading and what it intends to be. Okay, maybe in 5 years' time, you will change all your product into all the green products, for example. So you have to start slowly doing the changes by phases, for example. So brief and memorable grab attention, inspiring and challenging will create state excitement. So every level, every stages, you have to announce, you have to make announcement, you have to set the, probably perhaps a bit of rewards, perhaps whoever managed to come up with the best improvement plan, perhaps kan. So that will create excitement and awareness among the workers ataupun the staff, the employees. So descriptive of an ideal state will provide the guidance. Okay. So whatever activities that you want to implement, it must be properly documented and must be in black and white. Then only it will be you can actually compare before and after you have made the improvement. Then only the next thing that you need to do the post-mortem. Okay. And appealing to all stakeholders, employees. So you have to disseminate the information to all employees and then try to make it as simple and workable possible. Okay. So this is an example of the strategic planning process. So in terms of the gathering the facts, so inputs may come from all stakeholders, from the customer analysis, from the competitor analysis, from the industry analysis, from the company performance, from the company strategies, and also from the company, so from the environmental issues that you may have come across ataupun reported from time to time. Okay. Then after that, you can do the SWOT analysis. This is one of the part of the early process before you can come up with the strategic plan. Okay. The steps in doing the strategic planning. Right. So in the SWOT analysis, you do the external analysis by analyzing or assessing in terms of the opportunities, in terms of the threats. Internal analysis, mainly you will check in terms of the strength that you have in your organization, in terms of the resources, the strength, and then what are the weaknesses you may or you may not have. Okay. So the strategic questions you may pose, how to further improve, so how to dig further into the root of the problem. So you may pose several questions, and then after that you come up with the strategy issues that you would like to implement or to see in the future. Then from that information, review the inputs. So all stakeholders may participate, then review the inputs, then review the SWOT analysis, okay, and define 3 to 4 key statements that you have already shortlisted, and try to rank into 3 to 4 key statements that you would like to achieve within certain period of time. Okay, then come up with the strategic matrix. So in the strategic matrix, usually it will involve 3 stakeholders, and then it will involve the combination in terms of the matrix analysis. Usually you will study ataupun you will analyze in terms of the opportunities and versus the strength, opportunities versus the weaknesses, the threats versus the strength, and the threats versus the weaknesses. So you do those matrix analysis. Okay. So from there, you will you will come out to the certain level of decision. Okay, then you can come up with the strategies, the key strategies in terms of the short and long term goals, and in the operational plans that will involve at the um, managerial level, at the processing level, at the workers level. So how are you going to expedite those plans, okay, at the operational levels? Then final review, you review back whatever that you have already implemented, and then you monitor, then review. You do the necessary adjustment, and then the process just follow back. Okay, just follow through back this process. Okay, so boleh cubalah implement ni. So TQM and strategy formulation. Ada soalan tak? Tinggal 28. Right, saya proceed. So TQM and strategy formulation. TQM can improve the strategy formulation process in several ways. Okay. It forces the organization to think in terms of the customer's point of view. It places the expectation of leadership on senior management in developing and implementing the strategy. So the planning does not only involve the top management, it also involves the senior management as well as the people at the operational level, because their duty is to disseminate this information to ensure that this information disseminated and understood by all level of the workforce level. So the focus on management and objective reasoning introduces the reality check in determining the effectiveness of strategy and performance in meeting goals and objectives. Okay. Usually goals and objective is set by the intermediate level of people macam engineers level, and then with the guidance or with the input from the managerial level. Okay, you will set several goals and objectives, and then you translate this information into the workforce level. So the focus on teamwork creates an expectation that everyone in the organization plays a role in the formulation strategy. So it supports the conclusion of quality as part of the fundamental strategy. So this is an example of mission and vision by of Sandabi. Contoh, you tengok sini, dia punya vision to be a leading multinational corporate delivering sustainable value to all stakeholders. Okay, very general kan. So dia kata leading multinational corporation. So mission dia apa? To achieve that vision, so the mission is we are committed to developing a winning portfolio of sustainable businesses. So Sandabi, okay, it's not only palm oil per se. They also have the byproducts there. Okay, they do have the another side products, the soaps dia lah, the macam-macam lah under the Sandabi. So many other items. They buat margarine. Okay, so in order for them to stay sustainable in their business, they have to diversify their products. Okay, so we subscribe, dia kata, to good corporate governance and high ethical values. So you have to come up with the related mission and vision to achieve your vision just now. So here Coca-Cola kata our vision serves as the framework for our roadmap and guides every aspect of our business by describing that we need to accomplish in order to continue achieving sustainable quality growth. So mission here, roadmap starts with our mission, which is enduring. It declares our purpose as a company and serve as the standard which we weigh our actions and decision to refresh the world lah. Macam-macam lah. This is an example of the Apple mission statement there. Apple Design Max, the best personal computers in the world, along with the OS X, iLife, whatever, whatnot lah. So far ada soalan? Before I go to the second point, Deming 14 points. That will be the second subtopic in topic 2. Okay. So saya proceed ya.
Okay, Doctor.
So this is the guideline by Deming for whoever would like to implement the total quality management in their organization. So you must bear in mind that total quality management is a quality management system. Is a management system focusing more on the quality aspect, okay, rather than focusing on the product or the processes alone. You focus more on the quality aspect. Of course, you have to base on certain product, but that product must be meeting the standard requirement. Okay, as long as it is about the quality aspect of the product, then there will be a standard procedure or standard rules in your management part of it, in order for you to ensure that your process is actually according to the total quality management approach. Okay, let's look at the 14 points that has been highlighted by Deming. For whoever would like to implement the TQM, you can actually follow this guideline. Not necessary that you have to implement all the 14 points. Whichever of these points is actually related and relevant to your operation, you may adopt and adapt according to your organization, okay, according to your needs. So first, it says here that it must be about the consistency of the purpose. So constancy of purpose, you see. So you must create constancy of purpose for continual improvement of products and service to society, allocating resources to provide for long-range needs rather than only short-term profitability, with a plan to become competitive, to stay in business and to provide jobs. So dalam dia punya he put it in a very general statement. Your purpose of your existence, of your business that you have created, must have the not only short term, but must be in the long term period of time, and then you must improve continually, and it must be constant throughout your organization. Maksudnya, let's say the top management has set purpose or the vision, in this case, they dah set the vision. This one is actually relating to the mission or the directive from the top management. So you must ensure that those directives is actually will translate ataupun will be disseminated to the workforce level at the understandable instructions, this level. Okay, so then only you can achieve whatever that has been set by the top management. Okay, so the second point, it says that the new philosophy, if you're talking about the new philosophy, it says here that to adopt the new philosophy, so we can no longer live with commonly accepted levels of delays, mistake, defective materials, and defective workmanship. So you have to always progress ahead, move forward, and must always be willing to adopt and adapt with the new philosophy. Macam now the directive or the direction is all about the IR 4.0, for example. Although this practice actually has been implemented long time ago, cuma it's not been popularized sahaja. Okay, during my time pun all this element of IR 4.0 has been implemented pun very long time, but it's not being publicized, okay, globally. But now, since the direction is towards the big data, and then to computerization, and then cyber security. So, and then by using all these means and platforms, you have to ensure that you are also, you know, at the edge of this technology as well. So you cannot be left behind. So must always keep the organization and the staffs abreast with the latest technology. So it says here that cease dependence on mass inspection. So Demings has already highlighted he is actually in the 90s and in the 50s he has got this idea already. So not to depend so much on the inspection. You have to build in the quality into the product and the processes to itself. Okay. Now, point number 4, it says that and lower standard contracts. Okay. If your basis in terms of the supplier who supplies to you, if your basis is mainly on the cost incur to produce certain product, then it will not be, or say that any deals in terms of costing and pricing, not only the price tag, okay, the basis will not only in terms of the price tag, you must look into the whole process itself. Sometimes it may cost you cheaper, but perhaps you will have to compromise in terms of the quality. So you have to look as a whole, okay, and try to get the best out of it. Okay. So it says here that this may be achieved by moving toward a single supplier for any one item on a long-term relationship of loyalty and trust. So purchasing managers have a new job and must learn it. But now at the certain organization, what they did, they create the supplier, the tiers of supplier. So they may award or reward the business to the first tier of supplier, but with the condition that this tier of supply, the first tier of supplier must have another tier of supplier below them so that they will develop them. So it's a mutual understanding, and win-win is also part of the CSR. Okay, so another advantage of having the first tier and second tier supplier, in the event that the first tier supplier may have problems, at least they have the support or backup in terms of supplying the product to ensure that the part will continuously or able to be delivered to the customer on time. That is important, because when you want to implement just in time, you have to ensure that your product delivery must be in time as well. Okay. So improve every process. So improve constantly and forever every process for planning, production, and service. So this is where the continually improvement come into place. Okay. So he already promotes these ideas long time ago. Improve every process. Okay. So it's such a simple and basic statement, and yet it carries weight. Okay, so point number 6, it says here that institute training on the job. Okay, so institute modern methods of training on the job for all, including management, to make better use of every employees. Okay, every new skill are required to keep up with the changes in material, products, methods, service design, machinery, techniques, so on and so forth. Okay, so the training for the improvement in terms of the to keep up everyone with the latest technologies is very important. So institute leadership adopt and institute leadership aimed at helping people to do a better job. So the responsibility of managers and supervisors must be changed from the sheer numbers to quality. So you are not only chasing after the numbers. Sometimes if you notice that previously maybe the supervisor only focusing on the output, the number of outputs at the end of the day. So, but now it's not only the output, you must also focus as the good output. Output is one issue, whether it is acceptable or not, that's another issue. Okay. Next, drive out fear. You must encourage effective two-way communication and other means to drive out fear throughout the organization. So everybody may work effectively and more productively for the company. Sometimes you may have ideas, the workers may have ideas, but they are probably shy or scared to share the ideas. So try to listen to the ideas from the operational level, because they are the one who deals with the operation day in, day out. Sometimes they may come up with the good ideas to improve the whole process. So break down barriers between departments and staff areas. So he he's already emphasizing in terms of the interdepartmental ataupun horizontal way of communication. Okay, so that you won't have barriers among in between the department. Okay, so it is very important, especially between the purchasing and the production department and the planning department. You must work very closely. So the main point is actually to ensure that the product and then the customer receive the product on time. Okay, so eliminate exhortation, eliminate the use of slogan, posters and exhortations for the workforce demanding zero defect and new levels of productivity. So you can come up with the goals to set. For example, let's say at present you are running at 30% rejection and you are expecting to see things will improve by end of the year by 15%. So you can come up with that objectives, provided that you have to provide maybe the assistance in terms of the training, in terms of the ways on how to improve those situation. Macam mana nak buat. You kena bagi idea and then you give training on how to improve the situation. Ataupun you have to do the investigation in terms of the process investigation and then come up with the solution on how to improve and at the end of the day achieve the improvement or the reduce the number of rejections. That is an example. Okay. So eliminate arbitrary numerical targets. So eliminate work standard that prescribe quotas for the workforce and numerical goals for people in management. Substitute aids and helpful leadership in order to achieve continual improvement of quality and productivity. Sometimes figures alone does not help. You must put based on the metrics of measurement that you like to achieve. You kata you nak drop the rejection by 30%. So in which manner? In what manner? In what product? You have to quote clearly actually. So just arbitrarily, just numbers saja won't help. Okay? Because from one products to another products, they may have different type of problems. So you have to set the targets, you have to focus which area you would like to improve. Then at the end of the year, you may do the analysis how much improvement that you are able to achieve at the end of the day. Okay, from which process. Tu siapa dah terkeluar? So permit pride of worksheet. Okay. Remove the barriers that rob hourly workers and people in management of their right to pride of worksheet. This implies, among other things, abolition of the annual merit rating, appraisal of performance, and of management by objective. Again, the responsibility of managers, supervisors, foremen must be changed from sheer numbers to quality. So you must share the achievement tu among the staff, among the workers by doing the appropriate measurement. Okay. Sebab tu kadang kita ada activities like the QCC, group of people. So they will give merits also. Okay. So it will create more, I would say that more healthy environment. Okay. So encourage education, institute a vigorous program of education and encourage self-improvement for everyone. So from time to time, so the personnel department with the recommendation from the supervisors, for example, let's say if the supervisors has done some sort of analysis or assessment, he or she found that maybe there are one or two workers can be promoted to become line leaders, for example, to become the supervisors. So perhaps with the extra training that he or she may receive, then it will improve her skills. Then the supervisor or the foreman should be able to recognize that and then give the recommendation to the human resource people. So human resource department. So the human resource must plan for the career advancement. Okay. And top management commitment and action clearly defined. Top management's permanent commitment to ever improving quality and productivity. So to create, so here the top management commitment is very important. So support is not enough, action is required. It says here that they may come up with a directive to direct the people underneath. Somehow they must show their action also, okay, their commitment towards it. So if you look at all the 14 points that has been highlighted by Demi just now, so you ataupun they can divide that Deming 14 points into 4 profound knowledge. Okay, so can be divided into 4 subheadings. Okay, above all, in that all 14 points, people or the person who are supposed to carry out the task in the TQM implementation must have the knowledge of the system. Okay, you must have the knowledge of the system, understanding that all the parts of business are related in such a way that if you focus on optimizing one part, another part may suffer. So must have the balance in all the areas or the key parameters in your organization. You must know very well. Okay, so knowledge of variation, common knowledge of common cause and special variation. Variation in terms of the level of knowledge among the staff. Variation in terms of the products that you may have in-house. Variation in terms of machineries output, machine capabilities. So many things of variation, okay? So knowledge of theory of knowledge, how we learn things, okay? So theory of knowledge in terms of understanding of people towards the whatever strategy or plan that you would like to implement, whether those people in your organization have the knowledge or not. If they don't have, what sort of training that you should plan, what sort of activities that you must plan in-house, okay, you must provide. So you must understand in terms of the knowledge level at all management level, okay. So knowledge of psychology, that what motivates people. So in terms of the knowledge, one thing, but in terms of the psychological aspect, people at every level of people in the organization, in terms of their approach, in terms of the how do you want to implement it, you have to understand in terms of the psychological aspect of it as well. Okay, for example, at the operational level, operators level, in terms of approach, how do you want to make them understand, okay, the way you translate the information to them. So it must be aligned with their level of thinking, okay. Next will be on the quality certification. It's about ISO 9000 and 14000. Okay. Okay. So kita dah sampai slides number 29. We have 70 slides altogether and 69 slides. Okay. So the quality certification is about the set of international standards on quality management and quality assurance critical to international business. So kita akan briefly go through the ISO 9000 and ISO 14000. Okay. So you need a short break ke? You nak saya habiskan and then kita habis cepat? Ada soalan? Ada soalan? Tiada? Okay. Memang topik tu is a bit dry. Because it's very, I would say that dia very descriptive saja. Tak ada apa-apa yang side-side. It's more on the, policies. More on that, okay? Procedures. It's a bit dry. So, saya present lagi lah. Win. Now ISO 9000. So ISO 9000 standards define minimum requirements for business quality assurance system. So ISO 9000 is about the quality assurance system. These are consensus standards promulgated by the ISO ataupun International Organization for Standardization in Europe and the American National Standard Institute or ANSI in the United States. So dia punya logo dia ada UCAS, ada ni standards ni. Okay. So if you see this, you know it is actually ISO certified company. So it is a series of international standards establishing global requirements for quality management system. So TQM is also a quality management system. But ISO 9000 is actually the documented, a well-documented and accepted at the international level in terms of the quality management system there. So meaning to say that whichever company who has got the ISO 9000 certified has been certified with the ISO 9000, for them to implement TQM is not a problem, okay, because they already have the system in place. what they need to do, perhaps just to tune a little bit, enhance a bit their process towards the TQM, because TQM is focusing more on the SPC implementation actually. Okay, more on the process control. So this one saya nak use baca, but I'll go through the ISO 9000 series. ISO 9000 series start with the ISO 9000. Helps companies determine which standard of ISO 9001, 2 or 3 applies. Okay, so the ISO 9000 booklet is just a book that will help the companies to determine whether you fall under the, or you need to apply for 9001, 9002 or 9003. Okay, so 9001 ni is actually the outlines or guidelines for companies that engage in design, development, production, installation and servicing of products or services. So macam Proton, Pro2, dia involved in the design. Dia ada buat development, dia ada buat production, dia ada buat installation, servicing of products. So if they want to apply or implement the quality international standards, they should go for 9001. Sebab tu you tengok in their banner, dia kata we are the ISO 9001 certified company. Dia tak kata 9002. Yeah, 9001. Because their scope of the implementation or the system tu is broader. So ISO 9002 similar to 9001, but they don't include the company's engagement in the design and development. Maybe they are the OEM company. Contohnya, there are several players in the market, more manufacturers. They, whatever design that has been developed by these or other companies, they can produce. They can help to produce. They only involved in the production, installation, servicing of products or service. They don't involve in the design and development. So 9002, they can go for 9002. Salah satu contohnya OYL Sdn Bhd, for example, Ong Yok Lim OYL. They produce for other manufacturers, other companies, dia ada buat. So 9003 covers companies engaged in final inspection and testing. Contoh yang 9003, for example, Sirin. They involved in the testing of the products. Okay, dia ada labs, yang company yang have the lab equipment, so they can apply for 9003. So ISO 9004 is the guideline for applying the elements of the quality management system. So in ISO 9004 is a manual of books that give all the detailed guidelines that provide all the necessary information about the guideline of the quality management system. Okay. So why standard matters? Standards make an enormous and positive contribution to most aspects of our lives. Standards ensure desirable characteristics of products and services such as quality, environmental friendliness, safety, reliability, efficiency, and interchangeability, and at an economical cost. If you, maybe initially for you to implement whatever that you have already documented or you promise to deliver, is very troublesome and very meticulous, susah. But once everything is already in place, just for you to maintain, to ensure that it is actually comply at all time, okay, with the standard you have already promised to deliver to, it helps you to produce the product according to the standard, therefore with the very minimum or no rejection, then it is an economical cost. Okay, so the final say is, if you have a structured system, you have a systematic system way of doing your products, doing your operation, so it will be more controllable. Okay, So when products and services meet our expectation, we tend to take for granted and be unaware of the role of standards. This is where the audits need to take place periodically. From time to time, you have to do the audit just to ensure that the system at any point of time comply to whatever standard you have already set. However, when standards are absent, kalau tak ada standard langsung, we soon notice that care when products turn out to be of poor quality, do not fit, are incompatible with equipment that we already have, are unreliable or dangerous. So, if the quality of the products is not being focused from the beginning of the operation to itself, it's just like a time bomb. Just a matter of time, sooner or later it will be burst, and then you'll be facing a very nasty punya situation nanti. Okay. So when product, system, machineries and devices work well and safely, it is often because by they meet standards, and the organization responsible for many thousands of the standards which benefit the world is ISO. So, well, one thing for sure, if everything is in place, for you to trace, if you do have problem at the end of the process, for you to trace back the source of the problem though, it is much easier because you can trace back. The traceability is there from one process to another though. You can trace back. That is very important of the documentation and the proper process ni. Okay. What standards do? Dia kata make the development, manufacturing and supply of product and services more efficient, safer and cleaner. Okay. Memudahkan lah. Because when you talk about the standards, first, standards is things that is very unique and different from one organization to another. Okay. Why it became standard? Because you promise or you have already committed to deliver as it is. Okay. Whenever you record or you document what you want to give to the customer, and then you promise this is the quality that you will provide to the customer, so you document it. You kata kita akan supply produk ni warna merah, and then dia 4 segi, dimension mesti 10 plus minus 2 mm. So you put in your specification as a product requirement. Okay, specification. So once you have documented it, so it becomes a standard for the product. So what you need to do, you have to fulfill those standards no matter how. Okay, because you promise to deliver that to your customer. It becomes standard because you already set that as the standard requirement. Okay. So it can be the other way around. Let's say I'm the manufacturer. Now I am hiring you as my supplier. So I'm giving you the drawings. I'm giving you all the quality requirements that I want. Okay, for that particular product. I gave you the drawing and then I told you that the color must be black. It must be epoxy coating. It must be oven baked. It must not have any undulating surface. It must be very clean and everything according to what I have already recorded here. You give that set of documents to your supplier. So you receive that document. What you need to do, you have to fulfill those requirements. You have to supply. So to fulfill that, that is the standard that you receive. You may receive other standards from other manufacturers for you to produce. So standard can be anything. It depends on what the manufacturers want or depends on what the customer wants. Okay. Sebab tu dia kata kat sini, if you are able to keep to the standards, so the product and services can be more efficient, safer and cleaner. So facilitate trade between countries and make it fairer. So trade between countries, so a fair deal. Okay. Provide governments with technical base for health, safety, and environmental legislation and conformity assessment. So, kalau standard in the government point of view, usually it will involve in terms of the safety requirements. It also concern in terms of the environmentalnya issues or legislation. So, policy kita akan berbeza from G to G, government to government. What sort of policy that they look into usually adalah. So, share technological advances and good management practice. So, disseminate the innovation. Okay, safeguard consumers and users in general of products and services. The standards will help to safeguard the consumers and users in general of products and services. How do they safeguard the consumer? For example, they panggil the failure at the infancy. Laptop sampai dekat you, you order online, the moment you receive that, nak on, dah tak boleh. Dia kata apa tu? Failure at infancy. With the standard, and then with plus the warranty claims, the warranty that they promise to the customers, okay. So it will safeguard the consumer in a way that you know that if you don't get the qualities that you want, you can claim back to the manufacturer. So it is both ways. It's a win-win situation, okay. Make life simpler by providing solutions to common problems. If you have common understanding, it means that if you have a problem, it will become a common problem. It provides better solutions to common problems. Make life simpler. Okay. Who benefits the standards? For businesses, the widespread adoption of international standard means that suppliers can develop and offer products and services meeting specifications that have wide international acceptance in their sectors. So it gives you an added advantage in terms of, let's say, you can advertise your company is an ISO certified company when people know that globally the ISO 9000 is an international standard. Okay, so it means that you are practicing the international standard quality management. So for you to go global is at the advantage end. Okay. So for innovators of new technologies, international standards on aspect like terminologies, compatibilities, and safety speed up the dissemination of innovations and make their development into manufacturable and marketable products. Okay. Any new technologies, since you have the reputation, plus you have already recognized at the international, practicing the international standard. So with that reputation, it will benefit you in terms of your product markets. Okay. For customer, the worldwide compatibility of technology, which is achieved when products and services are based on international standards, gives them a broad choice of offers. Okay, as a customer, we will have a better options to choose which product that fulfill our requirements, because we know for sure that they are practicing good manufacturing practice, follow the international standard, so it gives you better options to choose. Okay. For governments, international standards provide the technological and scientific basis underpinning health and safety and environmental legislation. Okay. For trade officials, international standards create a level playing field for all competitors on those markets. So the existence of divergent national or regional standards can create technical barriers to trade. International standards are the technical means by which political trade agreements can be put into practice. It means that if you are practicing the international standards, your competitors will be among the international standards certified companies. Okay, so you will have a better chance to promote your product, and you have the better opportunities to be in the same arena, I mean at the global international market as well. So what else? For developing countries, international standards that represent an international consensus on the state of the art are an important source of technological know-how. Okay. What else? Previous. So for consumers, conformities of products and services to international standard will provide the assurance about the quality, safety and reliability. So for everyone, the quality of life in general, by ensuring that the transport, machinery and tools we use are safe. Okay. So for the planet, we inhabit international standard. No, the international standards, especially on the environmental international standard, will ensure that we preserve the environment by implementing according to the environmental law. Okay. So objectives of standards: achieve, maintain and seek to continuously improve product quality, including services, in relation to the requirements. Requirement is based on what you have already promised to deliver. Okay. Improve the quality of operations to continually meet customers and stakeholders' stated and implied needs. Provide confidence to internal management and other employees that quality requirements are being fulfilled, that improvement is taking place. So you provide confidence to customers and stakeholders that quality requirements are being achieved in the delivered product, and provide confidence that system requirements are being fulfilled. So comparison, TQM versus ISO. TQM, their emphasis on the leadership, teamwork, empowerment, workers' involvement, customer requirement, process control and continuous improvement. Okay. Standards requires clear responsibility and authority. Okay. It emphasizes on the decision procedures, their documentation and implementation. The standards will enhance and complement either TQM or other conventional quality system. So in the standards, they are more on the assurance. You have documented all the documents. So in terms of the compliance of the activities towards the set standard, they are more on the documentation, and then you have to audit to check from time to time whether you do implement and comply to whatever that you have already committed. But the TQM per se, total quality management, it emphasizes more on the activities in the process itself, day-to-day operation. Okay. So if these two being merged together, it will complement each other. Actually, it does help. Okay. TQM focus more on the process, and the international standard focus more on the quality assurance. Okay. So yang ni baca basic requirements for ISO. You must have a documented quality system. So consistent adherence to the documented quality system ataupun compliance, management by facts, check to see that the plan was carried out still on the compliance. Okay. So registration process macam mana? When an organisation feels that its quality system is good enough, they have implemented all whatever they want to they have implemented whatever that they have documented. Okay. So for them to check whether what they practice is according to what they have documented, they promise. So they can call the third party to come and audit. So when the registrar is satisfied with the favorable documentation of the auditing, So dia bolehlah grant registration for the certification. So final audit begins with a review of the company's quality manual, which the accredited registrar or third-party audit team typically uses as its guide. So audit team tu akan check lah your process. Dia akan minta dokumen, katalah dekat final inspection, you kata your process will be from A, B, C until Z. So they will take the documented procedure, they go to the line, dia kata okay, ini buat apa, dekat A apa, sama tak, compliance, comply ke tak. Any non-compliance will be recorded as non-compliance, you have to make the improvement. So kita dah sampai slide 50. So ISO 9000 versus Six Sigma. Kita nak baca. Now saya nak go for ISO 14000. Berapa slide lagi nak habis? Sampai 14000 very sikit You nak take 5 ke? Nak break sekejap? Lepas tu kita habiskan yang ni, and to next week we can do a bit of activities and then we'll explain about the assignment or whatnot. Boleh? Nak take 5 ke? Sekejap.
Take 5.
Take 5 So
Boleh.
make sure resume balik at pukul berapa? 10 minutes time? In 10 minutes time? 3.50 kita join balik
Boleh.
Boleh
3.50.
Boleh Encik.
Okay.
3.50 kita join
Boleh,
balik.
boleh.
Okay.
Terima kasih.
Okay, jam saya dah 3:51. Kita mula balik So we have another, let me see. Kita ada about less than 18 slides to go. Okay, ISO 14,000. So saya mula balik semua ada. Semangat, semangat.
Ada.
Lama juga ni. Nak masak rendang ni nak sama sekejap lagi.
Ya, boleh.
Boleh Okay, sekejap.
Boleh lagi.
Okay, kawan. Okay, steady. Ni apa ni keluar macam ni? Alright. Let's proceed. I don't like this. Okay, apa ni? Ya Allah. How to get rid of this thing Ayo. Turn off. Okay. Now ISO 14,000, the difference between ISO 14,000 and 9,000 is actually 14,000 has got all the elements of 9,000 with the extra of the environmental system. Tambahan dia ada environmental, okay? So next. So 14,000 refers to a family of voluntary standard developed by the ISO. So the strategic approach to an organization's environmental policies, plan and actions. Okay. So bawah environmental ni di put under the EMS. EMS is stand for the environmental management system. Okay. Of which it includes the quality standard plus the environmental system. So dalam 14,000 series, it has got 14,001, 2 and 4. So for the auditing, environmental auditing, you can use the manual, auditing manual of ISO 40,010, 11 and 12. For the evaluating the environmental performance, you can use the 14,031. For labeling, 40,000. ISO 14,020, 21, 22, 23, 24 and 25. It depends on the type of the business that you have, okay? So 14,040, 41, 42, 43 for the life cycle assessment. So labeling ni, because you have already attended the OSHA kan, so dalam product labeling is very crucial because it will represent the type of product that you have. And then each product has got the effect to the health and environment. Okay. Yang mana ada gambar pangkah, ada gambar tengkorak tu. So all those labeling, MSD, panggil apa? MSD apa tu? Ship document MSD. Material ship document. Ya. Saya terlupa dah. So steps for certification. Saya nak baca sendiri, okay? Basically dia punya steps similar to the ISO 9,000 steps juga. The only things yang different, it is emphasis on the environmental impacts and law relevant to your organizations. So if your organization is dealing with the activities or processes that involve dyeing process, dyeing dyeing dye coloring tu. So when you want to discharge into the waterways, so you have to ensure that it has gone through a proper filtration, purification, ataupun dipanggil it has got to have a proper water effluent system, EFFLUENT. Okay. So why conduct conformity assessment? So first, ISO does not carry out assessment to check that standards are being implemented by users with the requirements of any ISO standard rather than private sector suppliers, but by the accreditational body. In Malaysia, body to ISO is Department of Standard Malaysia or DSM. Okay. who does the conformity assessment? Okay. Kalau in Malaysia, DSM, Department of Standard Malaysia. So benefits of ISO 14000 certification. So the systematic approach can lead to benefit like the following. Okay, reduce cost of waste management, saving in consumption of energy and materials, you recycle or usage. Okay, lower the distribution cost, improve corporate image among regulators, customers and the public, and framework for continuous improvement for environmental performance ataupun green manufacturing or environmental friendly. Now we have come to the last part, the organizational alignment and 360 degrees appraisal. Apa dia? It's about 10 slides saja. So organizational alignment defined as a state of agreement or cooperation among persons or groups with a common cause or viewpoint. Okay, when the organizational alignment is achieved, all employees from entry level to CEO share and act on the vision of the company. When you have the same understanding, the same mission and vision, the way you're doing things will be much easier, clearer. Okay, sama vision. So in the infrastructure, you do have the struktur organisasi, for example. And then in that organisasi, you have the system. Katalah you implement the ISO 9000 system. So all the procedures, all the operation, all the flow is already documented. The process, the policies, kata apa-apa, so all documented. So you may have the external environment, okay? You may have another elements outside there in terms of strategic path, and then you do have the cultural path. So the stakeholders will be the results. So in terms of cultural path and the strategic path usually will look into the procedures, documented procedures, the way of doing things. But the cultural path is actually in the real life, how can you inculcate those values for you to achieve that strategic goals, okay? You nak become as part of the way of doing things, becomes a budaya, okay? You can set so many goals, but if it's not being practiced and being part of the you of doing it, so culturally does not match dengan your activities tu, then it is difficult, okay? So, objectives versus practices. You need to have the objectives to ensure that whatever that you have set will be achievable, okay? But in practice, how do you practice it? How do you, execute it? Okay, so it must be aligned also. So, tasks and behaviors. You may have the task that is already documented, katalah ada SOP dia, way of doing things. But in reality, in terms of the human attitudes towards whatever improvement, whatever task, some people take for granted. So you have to inculcate this. You need to, train them so that whatever that you do, everyone must play their role and give the positive feedback and positive response towards what you want. Then only you will achieve the common goal, common results. Okay. So here, just now, in the previous slide, it does not show clearly the difference between the strategy and the culture itself. But here in this model, organizational alignment model number 2, it does separate clearly between the strategy and the culture. Okay, so the guiding path under the strategy will be the guiding path. The guiding path, you talk about the guidelines, the strategy and all the guidelines, documented procedures. Okay, what have you documented? But in actual, in terms of the driving path, it depends so much on the individuals itself. Okay, the culture in the company, whether they're easy to approach or not, the type of open-minded people. So in terms of values, good practice, good behaviors. So all these will complement each other and then will achieve the common direction and common goals. Okay. So in terms of the explanation of the organizational alignment on the strategic ataupun the guiding path, okay, it says here that the strategic or the left-hand path emphasis on what needs to be done. You think that is what needs to be done, okay. So the strategic goals the organization will work towards to. So the objectives that the groups and individual must accomplish to carry out those strategies, and the activities that must be performed to meet goals and objectives. Whereas the cultural part is actually that how things will be done, okay, or should be done, okay. The values that will guide people in carrying out the mission and vision, okay. The practices which reflect those values. Your current practice, ada ethics ke tak in terms of work? Do you really follow or not? Or you are the type of very, against all the rules and regulation ke whatever, okay? The specific day-to-day behaviors which will represent the values and practices to others as people go about their work. How serious you are with the task that has been assigned to you, okay? So kalau you seorang yang Muslim, you seorang yang memang ada iman, insyaAllah semua kita ada, then you will follow the, orang kata apa, fitrah you will naturally will follow what has been guided. Now this is the one of the model to test the organizational strategy versus the capability, the organizational capability. You do have your strategy, but in terms of the organizational capability, do you have it or not? So this is the model for the organizational strategy versus the organizational capability alignment test. Dia panggil alignment test. Strategy versus capability. How aligned is this? So dia kata kat sini, this section will be how aligned is your strategy with your long-term purpose. Here, how aligned is your strategy with the capabilities, organization capabilities. Katalah, in this scenario, if you have the organizational strategy, however, it does not align with your capabilities that you have in your organization. So, meaning to say that not long for this world, it means that your business will not last long. Okay? If you have the organizational strategy you mantap, align, best of intention but incapable. If you have the organizational strategy, everything is mantap, but you don't have the people who are capable to do or to carry out the task. So intention to okay, but incapable. You fall in this category. But in this scenario again, if you have the capabilities, but you don't have the proper strategy to move forward. Okay. So your organization can be very bold because of the capabilities that you have, the strength of people that you have in your organization, but somehow it won't go anywhere. Boleh but going nowhere because you don't have the vision and mission. Okay. And this is the best combination. You have a very clear strategy aligned with the long-term purpose, and also you do have the resources, the right people. So you have the strategy with your organizational capability as well. Therefore, this is the very best chance of winning. Okay. So you have the effective strategy and organizational effectiveness. Okay. So the best companies are the best aligned with the strategy, purpose, and organizational capabilities. Okay. So we have come to the 360 degrees appraisal. the founder of the 360 degrees appraisal is actually the Marshall Goldsmith. He found this approach in 1949. He is a famous author on the leadership, and he is an expert in business education and coaching. One of his famous management development and human resource HR tools ni is actually human resource tools, which he developed is the 360 degree feedback method. Okay, definition dia, 360 degree evaluation process provide information to an employee from multiple sources, a circle of stakeholders such as peers, supervisors, direct reports, higher management levels, internal customers, external customers, vendors, consultants, and others. It's equivalent to 360 degrees appraisal. Because the most common practice in any organization is the top management appraisal. Okay, katalah I am your immediate superior, I will appraise you. So I will do the necessary assessment, okay, from my observation. So I'll do the assessment from my observation towards you. But 360 degrees appraisal is different. I may get input from you yourself, from the feedback from the person or the people you are dealing with. If you are dealing with directly with the customer, then I will get the info or feedback from the customer. So I will combine all this information and come up with the gathered solutions. Okay, that is 360 degrees appraisal. So this is the model, the employee. So the appraisal may come from the subordinates, which we practice like for presentation kan kita ada peers evaluation tu. But now I do not include that. I will devise another method of doing it, okay, because we do the ODL is a bit difficult, okay. Peers and team members, direct reports from line managers to that particular employee, feedback from customers, maybe feedback from suppliers. How do you handle the suppliers, okay, in terms of your attitude, behaviors. So this kind of feedbacks then will constitute into the 360 degrees appraisal. So the advantage of 360 degrees appraisal, it helps in evaluating the overall performance of an employee. Okay, so 360 degree feedback gives a complete view of the work the employee has done, and just based on some supervisors review. Okay, this feedback shows all the competencies of an employee across various domains and verticals of business. Okay. So it is fair, I think fairer in terms of the feedback assessment though, rather than comes from one level or one person. Okay. So the disadvantage pula, dia kata there are certain drawbacks of this type of feedback. Some advantages of 360 degrees feedback are favoritism can affect the feedback of certain employees who otherwise must be working well. Kadang ada favoritism, okay. 360 degree feedback mostly gives qualitative feedback and might overlook the quantitative performance of an employee, okay. Okay. So unfair feedback from some people may lead to an ambiguous rating of the employee's performance. Katalah happens that tertanya orang yang memang dislike this particular person, so he or she might gives the very unfairnya feedback. Okay, so this adalah dia punya disadvantage tu. So whoever yang supposed to do the overall assessment, come up with the final punya conclusion, must be very wise person. Okay, so habis dah topik ni. So let's recap. Discuss the strategies for TQM implementation, controlling and monitoring, the rationale, the process and strategy formulation. Discuss about each element of Deming 14 points. Highlight the purpose and benefits of ISO 9000 and 14,000 towards the TQM implementation. Discuss about the advantages and disadvantages of appraisal. So kita dah habis dah topik tu. So kalau dah habis topik tu, dah pukul 4.11. By right kita should have a discussion session right now. Saya akan stop presenting. So we need to be in the discussion mode. So siapa nak highlight apa, nak tanya apa mengenai topik that we have already concluded just now, topik tu. So what can you actually learn from the TQM system? Apa yang you boleh give your sort of like view about the TQM system ni? What do you see from what you have just now learn? Oh ya, nampak ah. Ni kita nak recap ni. Cepat bagi feedback. It is recorded right now. Come on. Second to your future. So for the you future, nak suruh saya panggil nama ke? Masih ada bersama-sama ke? Learning activities. Ada kelas activities. Kelas activities. Okay, since you tak ada soalan, saya nak tanya you all. Okay, saya nak tengok kita punya participants kita siapa. I will call the name and then you should answer me. Okay, saya run saya punya ni. Wheel of Fortune saya. Okay, Zul Hajjaj, Zarulis. Zul Hajjaj. Ada ke? Please unmute yourself. Zul Hajjaj. Zul Hajjaj. Ada ke tak ada ni? Oh, tidur Okay, saya nak share attendance. Muhammad Pushairi. Muhammad Pushairi. Saya tak ada semua orang ni. Siapa yang ada kat sini?
Ada.
Mai Rosa.
Ada
Siapa
doktor.
yang
Ada
Mai Rosa?
Ada.
Okey, ni Mama Hafiz.
Okay.
Okey, ni Mama Hafiz.
Yes.
Okay. Can you give me the difference between the ISO 9000? Tadi kita dah gone through the slides kan a bit. How can you differentiate between the TQM system versus the ISO 9000 system? It emphasis on what matter? TQM dia emphasis kepada apa? ISO dia fokus or emphasis on what? Saya ada sebut tadi.
Hello doctor, can you hear me?
Boleh? Very loud and clear.
Okay. The difference between TQM system and ISO 9000, ISO 9000 is like the guidelines is set by the bodies such as private sector, while the TQM is like a general system set up to reach our vision and mission in quality management, to reach our goals in organizations.
So it means that ISO 9000,
Yes.
it has got the standard procedures in
Yes,
terms
yes.
of management. Also internationally recognized and internationally established. Okay.
Yes.
So in practice, in terms of the implementation though, TQM dia emphasis on what and ISO emphasis on what? Apa yang you faham? Dia punya dia panggil apa? Penekanan dia lebih kepada apa? Okay. Apa yang you faham daripada yang the class that we have just now?
ISO, the ISO is much more focused on the final audit begins for the quality manual, the process, the compliance, the overall.
The quality assurance compliance,
the QA, including those QC. Then for the TQM, they have the process and their very own strategy. It's like a mission and vision. For the company.
Katalah, okay, maybe perhaps in general it's a bit difficult. Let's say I'm giving you in terms of a simple analogy, to put in the simple perspective, okay, in terms of the TQM ni. So TQM ni more on the day-to-day operation, but
day-to-day and repeating activities.
According to the standard practice that you need to comply with, okay?
Yeah.
But it has to be specific. Katalah that particular product A, kata nak buat kereta proton lah, kereta proton saga, okay? Proton saga, you need to have or follow certain SOPs. In that SOP, every station is clearly stated. You must assemble the body chassis dulu at station number 1. And then station number 2, you assemble the side body. And then the side body also must be correct. Because in Proton, they are implementing the mixed model assembly. Dia tak assemble saga-saga saja. Wajah-wajah saja. Tak tau. Siapa pernah pergi Proton ni, kilang Proton? You must do visit lah. Ni pernah pergi ni?
Not yet.
Yeah, haven't been there. So what they practice, previously they do have a macam specific line. Katalah untuk Proton saga aja. But by doing so, they have a excess of manpower, because whenever they do not run the Proton saga, so they tend to employ more people because they dedicate the line for that particular model. What they did in that particular line, assembly line, they do assemble in their production schedule. Katalah mixed model, how do they run the mixed model assembly macam ni. Katalah today's new production, I am the production planner. I plan my production, ada persona, ada jalan Proton saga. So ada juga jalan Proton perdana lah, for example my today's schedule, I will run perdana, persona and saga, for example. But in that production output, 400 must be saga, 200 persona, only 50 saga, 50 perdana, for example. So I have to plan my production, katalah 4-2-1 I plan. Nampak tak maksud saya?
Nampak.
So katalah 4 saga, 2 persona, 1 perdana. So in my line, I have a mixed model running. So how to control this kind of process in order for you to ensure that quality will not be compromised? It's not easy, right? Tak senang kan? Chances they might assemble using the wrong parts for the wrong model.
Yes.
So they have to be very thorough and detailed in terms of their process control tu. Faham ya?
Faham.
So this is where the TQM practice is very critical here, okay? ISO is one part. ISO basically, as long as you document whatever, katalah Proton saga mesti ada 4 tayar, 1 body chassis, ni assembly line dia macam ni. But now in terms of the actual practice implementation tu, so the TQM focus more on the actual daily day in day out practice tu.
I see. Okay.
Daily day out practice more on the TQM ataupun quality control process. Under the quality department, they may have organisation. Kan earlier part topic 1 tu, kan I did explain that under the quality assurance department, they have quality assurance itself, and another one is quality control. So the TQM, the core of the TQM activities more under the total quality control tu itself. But quality assurance will deal with the compliance punya activities, documentation, whatever, semua dalam tu. Because from time to time nak kena audit your proses ni sama tak dengan apa yang you dah document dengan ISO standard tadi. And you cannot compromise ataupun letting go in terms of the daily production activities with regards to the quality tadi. So that's why kalau you tengok the criteria of the TQM practitioner ataupun when they want to reward kan dalam first part tu, first topic, for the Deming prize, the award is actually designed for the TQM practitioners, and in their evaluation or assessment, they are focusing more on the SPC methods implementation. Kenapa you rasa SPC? SPC kan fokus on the process, kan? Process monitoring. So they are focusing more on the process. Of course, you process tu refer to the product juga kan? Rather than product, but the process tu, the whole process. Because in one production line, you may assemble many types of product, but your process cannot go wrong. Faham
Faham?
Emphasis on the process tu.
Alright.
So, tu je lah dia ada difference. Dia focuses more on the people, teamwork. Kan tadi kan? Tengok balik slides tu, the people, the teamwork. Whereas on the ISO 9000, more on the documentation. Yes, and assurance that all the process tu comply dengan whatever that you have already documented.
Alright.
So nampak bagus.
Understood.
Okay, bagus. So kalau saya buat soalan tu boleh faham lah ya?
Boleh.
Bagus. So, ada apa lagi before kita conclude our session today? Okay, kalau tak ada apa, so selamat berpuasa dari saya. InsyaAllah next week kita masuk kelas. Hopefully we are more focused. Of course lah petang-petang mengantuk kan. So sebab tu saya nak habiskan ni. So next week I will interlude the class with the class activities. So I try to finish off whatever yang ni topik tu dah habis. So we have more time to do like gamification ke whatnot lah. So first week puasa ni kot letih lah sikit kan. So tu je lah. So kita habiskan kelas ni. Kita tutup kelas dengan tasbih kafarah dengan suratul As. So Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So saya akan stop recording. Assalamualaikum everyone. Selamat berpuasa ya.
Waalaikumsalam. Selamat berpuasa.
Selamat puasa, Madam.
Selamat puasa.